Kia ora, greetings. My name is Brian Flaherty. I'm Product Manager for Data here at NeSI, and I will have the great pleasure of being your host this afternoon, talking about our new automated cleaning of no backup file systems. So we'll start off just with some housekeeping. And usual, please keep your audio muted if you're not speaking. If you have any quick questions, the best thing to do is to type them into our shared Google Doc. The URL there is there, and you should already have it. And NeSI staff are on board to answer those questions in Google Docs right now. If you have any longer questions, it's best to wait till the end of the presentation, and we can talk about them then rather than interrupting in the middle. This webinar will be recorded and made available, and also the content that's covered will be of the webinars available in NeSI support and our support documentation. Okay. So what we'll cover today. First up, just an overview of NeSI storage, the different parts of NeSI storage that are available. Then really the key thing is talking about the changes that are happening to storing data in the no backup file system. We'll talk about the timelines around these changes and any actions that you need to take. And then some general tips on how to manage your data, really data management inside NeSI and storage. A little bit on where to get help, and then we'll finish up with a Q&A. I think our webinar's timed for 30 minutes, so we'll see how we get on. Okay, overview of NeSI storage. Then to start, file systems that are available for users of Maui and Mahuika. So there's the three types of storage available: the home directories, project, and no backup. The project and no backup both have your project code name as part of that directory name. The difference between the project is a persistent storage, so it's for project-related software that you might want to install, maybe for some inputting of jobs. The no backup, on the other hand, is really designed as a scratch file system. So it's the largest storage that we have and the highest performance storage. So we really need to keep a sufficient storage available in no backup to enable large workloads and large analytics jobs to be run at any time. And one of the motivations of the project that we're doing in the new process is to make sure that we do have sufficient available storage on no backup, and really also to encourage good data management practices. You'll also see in the table here the key attributes of the different types of storage. So the quotas, disk quota and file quotas that are available, the retention times, and of course the backup schedule for the home and the project directories. The no backup directory by definition not being really backed up. It's also worth noting that you can query your storage usage yourself and the allocated storage just using that little command that you can see there, nn_storage_quota, so that you can use that at any time to query your usage. So where you should put your data, if your data is being, you or your team accessing the data often, and it's being modified often, then it should be left in the no backup directory. If it's accessed often, but it's not being changed so regularly or modified, then really it should be in the persistent project directory. The reason that we say it's better not to put data that's being modified often in the project directory is that it creates quite a considerable amount of churn in our backup infrastructure, backing up from our persistent file systems. So if it's been modified or changed regularly, better to be left in the no backup directory. If it's seldom accessed and seldom modified, then it should be worth thinking about that's data being stored elsewhere, for example, in your institution, in your own institution storage and repository, which ultimately is the final result of any project data, and it should be moved to your institution storage. Okay, so what's happening, what's changing? The upcoming changes to the no backup file system. Starting today, yes, we're putting in place some data expiry and automated deletion of files in the no backup file system. As I said, to optimize the availability of that high performance storage, which is needed for really active data, as I mentioned, for active.
Brian, just one quick note. Your audio is fading in and out, so I don't know if you can adjust your microphone and that might fix it.
Thanks, Jana. I have had this problem in the past, and I just got a new headset today, and I was hopeful that that was all changed. I'll speak a little bit slower, and if there's things that aren't picked up, please fire away that you understand. Please fire away with a question in the doc, and one of our team can pick that up for you straight away. Let's hope that you are getting the most of what I'm saying here. Okay, so the candidates for deletion. What files are we looking to delete and when? First up, your directory as a whole has to be, and your no backup has to have more than 1 terabyte of disk space being used. If you've got less than 1 terabyte of total storage in your no backup directory, it won't be a candidate for automatic deletion. Also, the key thing is that the files have to be created more than 120 days ago and not accessed or touched in that time since then. The files will have been identified 2 weeks previously to deletion in a new directory in the backup called a .policy directory. The first .policy directories were created today as part of the initial rollout. As I mentioned, that we're doing a staged rollout, so for the first few times that we're running this process, we're only going to be targeting a few projects and a few no backup directories. So it may well be that you have greater than 1 terabyte of data in your no backup directory, and that you haven't touched it for longer than 120 days, but you don't have any files listed in a .policy directory. That'll be because, as I mentioned, we're only selecting a few projects as we refine and roll out the process. Yeah, so again, just to reiterate that, starting from today, on every Tuesday morning, we'll be reviewing once 2 weeks after the first your notification has gone out, we'll be reviewing files in the no backup file system, and as I said, if they meet those criteria, then they will be deleted. So that's 2 weeks after you receive your initial email notification of that. Once that deletion process is finished, so in 2 weeks from now, the first deletions will happen. Once that's finished, new candidates will be identified following that for expiry from 2 weeks later after that date. I should probably mention about the email that will be that is sent out for that was sent out today for those no backup directories that are candidates for deletion. We will be sending out that email, but it's worth noting that we can't guarantee email just by the nature of email that it is. So what we're recommending is that you regularly check your .policy directory to see if you do have any files that meet that criteria for deletion. But we will be sending out the emails, but as I say, we can't guarantee that they'll always be received, email changes, etc. So timelines and action required on your part. So yeah, the first email that we sent out to everybody notifying about the steps in the rollout was the 7th of November. As of today was the first candidates identified for expiry, and emails sent out to every member of project teams for those projects that have files that are candidates. And in their .project directory, those files will be listed there. So as I mentioned, 2 weeks from today, that's the 10th of December, those files that were candidates that have been notified that meet the expiry criteria, they will be deleted. And then the process will be automated carrying on from this. I should mention that we'll be taking as I said, we'll be picking up the process. So initially it won't be everybody, it'll be selected candidates, and we will have a closed down period over Christmas. So don't worry if you're away from Christmas that you'll be contacted and you wouldn't have received an email. Okay. Yeah, again, reiterating that how it affects you, you will be notified 2 weeks prior to deletion, and you can review your files in the .policy directory that's been created in your no backup directory. I'll just reiterate what I said a moment ago. I've got colleagues here telling my voice had disappeared. The example given there is of a candidates for deletion in a NeSI no backup file that were recorded as an example on today. Candidates for deletion in 2 weeks' time. Those files will be listed in a .policy directory for people in that project to review. If you do find that you have files that are candidates for deletion, you have 4 options of what you can do. The first option is that you can move those files to persistent project, to your project directory storage. Of course, in order to do that, you will need to have the quota to be able to do that. So if you're not sure you have the quota, the thing to do will be to contact NeSI staff, support staff about whether you can request a quota for your project, an increased quota for a project directory to move some of your data from no backup to that persistent project directory. The second option is to move your files out of the file storage, NeSI file storage, and into your own organization's storage. So move them outside of NeSI. And as noted there, we expect that for most projects, this is the final output or outcome of your data to be moved off NeSI once it's no longer being used for compute, no longer for processing. be moved off the NeSI file systems. The third option is to delete and move files so that your total space in your no backup directory is less than 1 terabyte. So your files will no longer won't be candidates for deletion, won't be identified as candidates for deletion. The last option there around accessing and modifying the files for deletion, if you are going to be using them again in a very short time, within the space of a month, they can be touched, but we're monitoring the touch files, so it's really not a process that you can consider that available to you if you're just going to, you have files there for a longer term, you just want to touch them on a regular basis so that they won't be deleted. We'll be looking at checking on that as that's not a behaviour that we recommend. Okay. Tips for managing data that's stored in the NeSI file system. I hope you can still hear me okay, and again, apologies if my voice has been fading in and out. If you've had any questions and have been able to flick them through to our NeSI staff who are manning the questions doc. So if you do have if you need to compile or install software package that's large, intended for a project, build it in your project directory rather than your home directory, which is some people may consider, which is more really for configuration type files. The no backup file system, as I mentioned earlier, is really, it's our highest performance file storage, and its input files should be moved and copied here before starting jobs. You're able to, if you're able to script your jobs so that they to write files, to write the input and write the output files to the no backup file system. That's a good process to have in place in your script writing. And also, if you do want to keep your data for the longer term, you can as well script an output of an operation to copy or move your data, your outputs to a project file system at the end of the operation. If you need any help with any of that scripting, again, contact the NeSI support to help you with any queries around script writing for job scripts. And again, bear in mind that the NeSI no backup is not backed up, so it's not the place to keep valuable data for the longer term. Push it to the project directory, or as I mentioned, to other storage, institutional storage, as you're able to, as batch jobs are completed. Right, and I have mentioned about not using the touch command as a preventing the cleanup policy. Another script tip, in terms of good data management, that you are able to script deleting of data as part of the job submission process in the script. You can use the remove command and include some arguments around situation-specific details for that for deleting data. And again, if you need any help with that, talk with our NeSI support staff. We do obviously want to work with you. We don't want any scares or any nasty surprises about data disappearing. And we are keen to hear feedback from you about the process that we're developing around the time frames of 120 days and anything that we haven't considered around the automatic no backup deletion process as we're rolling it out. So we want to ensure that data is stored in the appropriate places. So as mentioned, the persistent project storage, the high performance, no backup, scratch space. We are in the process of moving towards a nearline storage as a new storage option available for some NeSI customers. Right at this point, we don't have a release date for that. We're in early access testing program at the moment with some early testers. That's available for some NeSI customers, and we're doing some testing on that at this point. We are aware that there are some institutional customers who are waiting on the delivery of the availability of that nearline storage for some persistent data that's stored in no backup. And for those people, we have an exception process, and we have been in contact with a lot of those people around accepting some of that data from the automatic deletion process. So if you do have any concerns around the options for storing your data and needs to be moved off the no backup storage, again, I would really strongly emphasize to get in touch with us. We're here to work with you on providing a solution for that. Of course, the nearline storage that we are developing is really not a replacement for really the requirement to repatriate your data to organizations for long-term data management. Okay, getting closer down towards time. Getting help, how to get to NeSI support if you haven't used it before. Anytime, as I said there, no questions too big or small. You can visit support.nesi.org and click on submit a request, or you can also email support@NeSI for any queries that you do have. Also have a look at the support documentation, NeSI support under file systems and quotas around automatic cleaning of no backup file systems. I think at this point I will jump out of here and go over to have a look at some of the questions for today, if there's any still outstanding, and if you do have any questions that you want to ask me now. So we have had questions around large files, and particularly around genomics data. Looking at a question around high proportion of no backup space, and asking around exemptions. And the answer to that, yeah, we're keen to work to ensure that the appropriate storage is available, whether it's scratch storage or project storage or institutional storage. The question someone's asked about the 1 terabyte, that's the entire directory, not particular files. So if your entire directory is less than 1 terabyte, none of the files on that will be considered as candidates for deletion. Okay. Any other questions that people would like to ask at this point? Okay, Ben's going to pick up on that question then about the script that's been developed. I think that what you're talking about is the You can, if you're scripting any, okay, you can check your quota. You can also, if you're running any batch scripts, you can add into that batch scripting of in your workflows. You can add in where you want to the data to be input or output to. Yeah. As I mentioned, if you do have any other questions beyond that come to mind after today, or you'd rather talk to someone privately, individually, rather than in webinar here, please don't hesitate to contact support. We realise with a new process like the automated deletion that there may well be concerns about some data disappearing that we're obviously important data. We want to make sure that we get the process correct and that everyone understands the process. It's about implementing good data management processes and having the no backup, the scratch space available for the process, for the really requirements around data processing, and rather than for being used as a backup for longer term storage. If there aren't any other questions, I think I may sign off at this point. Again, my apologies for my sound. Seems like I'm going to have to do something seriously about not just replacing my microphone and headset, but working out what the gremlins are with my testing my sound in future. So my apologies for that. Hopefully you got something useful out of the session today. Yeah. Once again, please get in touch with us if you have any other questions. Cheers.